I'm holding a part that has caused us a lot of grief. And I can imagine this has caused owners a lot of grief too. In fact, this part caused us so much grief that for a number of years we wouldn't even sell it. People would email and say, hey, can you get me this part? And I say, no, we don't want to sell it because of this grief I'm talking about. And you're thinking, well, why would that cause so much grief? This is the ignition, lock, and switch assembly that was produced from 1990 to 1995 for the Mercedes 201, 124, and 126 chassis. This particular assembly would work both in the gas and diesel models, but it was different in the earlier assemblies, and that is this cable right here. This cable goes from the ignition lock down to the transmission, and this is what would not allow you to take the transmission out of park until you turn the key on. And that's great for a safety feature, but when it comes to maintenance and replacement, this became a nightmare. Let me explain a little bit more in detail why this created so much grief for us. These are the parts that make up this assembly on the 1990 and 1995 models that I mentioned earlier. All of these parts can be purchased individually. You have the steering lock assembly, the ignition and key and tumbler assembly, the cap, the steel cap that goes over the tumbler assembly, the plastic cam that operates this cable, and this is the electrical switch that's mounted on the back of the lock assembly. And then finally, this little valve, this is only used on diesel models to control the shutoff to the injection fuel pump. So we started out selling these individual parts to our customers, and some customers would buy this part and this part, or maybe this part and this part. And then all of a sudden we started getting emails like, hey, this doesn't work, this is stuck, I can't get this to fit right. And we quickly found out that there was a specific sequence to putting everything together, and if it was not done properly, you could literally jam this mechanism up and not even be able to turn the key if you got the tumbler assembly inserted wrong into the lock. And we even had one customer who was frustrated. They tried to, they got it all jammed up. They tried to drill out the tumbler, and that didn't work. They tried to come in here to the side of the lock and try to destroy this little cover plate to get in there to get this assembly taken apart again after it was all jammed up. And so because of those problems, we just stopped selling it. But recently, I went after this problem again, and let me explain what I found. We recently had a 1991 300E come into the shop. It was owned by a friend of mine, so I agreed to help him. It was also a great opportunity to shoot a video, but he had the dreaded stuck key situation. He had to have the car towed in, couldn't move the car, couldn't turn the key, and we proceeded to go through the sequence of cutting and removing that old lock assembly and replacing it. We shot a full video on this. It's over an hour long, and it will be available on our new website on how to tackle this problem. This was a huge problem, and it took a lot of time to fix it. But during that whole process, I got down and dirty with these newer model lock assemblies, and I realized I really could come up with a solution for our customers, but there were going to be some limitations. And the very first limitation was that I will only sell this assembled. I will only sell this particular unit, the lock, with the tumbler and the cap installed, because this is where something can go wrong very easily if it's not assembled properly. Now you can see the key can go in, it opens the lock, release it, and out comes the lock. You will receive this as a complete unit. It does mean that you will have to install your own plastic cam assembly. Now this is where the second big problem came in. This is very, you think it would be so easy, but it's almost like a Rubik's Cube to install this thing. It has to be positioned just right, it has to be centered properly, and it has to be put in there in just the right sequence. So I had to write a 2-page instruction on just how to assemble this part back into the lock, or it could cause all kinds of problems. Then as far as the ignition switch, you will be able to use your own ignition switch, or you can buy a replacement from this. And of course, if you have a diesel, you will have to install this little vacuum switch. And along with that, I will include instructions on how to remove this and replace it back into the steering column and to properly assemble it so you can get it working again properly in your car. And hopefully that will solve all the grief that I've had and that you might have in the future.